A great social success is a pretty girl who plays her cards as carefully as if she were playing. Everybody's youth is a dream, a form of chemical madness. Genius goes around the world in its youth incessantly apologizing for having large feet. What wonder that later in life it should be inclined to raise those feet too swiftly to fools and bores. It is in the 30s that we want friends. In the 40s, we know they won't save us any more than love did. The man who arrives young believes that he exercises his will because his star is shining. The man who only asserts himself at 30 has a balanced idea of what willpower and fate have each contributed. The one who gets there at 40 is liable to put the emphasis on will alone. The compensation of very early success is a conviction that life is a romantic matter. In the best sense, one stays young. After all, life hasn't much to offer except youth, and I suppose for older people, the love of youth in others. At 18, our convictions are hills from which we look. At 45, they are caves in which we hide. No grand idea was ever born in a conference, but a lot of foolish ideas have died there. Optimism is the content of small men in high places. An idea ran back and forward in his head like a blind man knocking over the solid furniture. You can stroke people with words. Nothing is as obnoxious as other people's luck. Personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures. Sometimes it is harder to deprive oneself of a pain than of a pleasure. Action is character. Personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures. Sometimes it is harder to deprive oneself of a pain than of a pleasure. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. The victor belongs to the spoils. Dibit. The first time a young girl is seen drunk in public. It took him a moment to respond to the unguarded sweetness of her smile, her body calculated to a millimeter to suggest a bud yet guarantee a flower. Men get to be a mixture of the charming mannerisms of the women they have known. No amount of fire or freshness can challenge what a man will store up in his ghostly heart. The idea that to make a man work you've got to hold gold in front of his eyes is a growth, not an axiom. We've done that for so long that we've forgotten there's any other way. All life is just a progression toward, and then a recession from, one phrase, I love you. Either you think, or else others have to think for you, and take power from you, pervert and discipline your natural tastes, civilize and sterilize you. Everyone suspects himself of at least one of the cardinal virtues. The kiss originated when the first male reptile licked the first female reptile, implying in a subtle, complimentary way that she was as succulent as the small reptile he had for dinner the night before. At any rate, let us love for a while, for a year or so, you and me. That's a form of divine drunkenness that we can all try. There used to be two kinds of kisses. First, when girls were kissed and deserted. Second, when they were engaged. Now there's a third kind, where the man is kissed and deserted. If Mr. Jones of the Ninnities bragged he kissed a girl, everyone knew he was through with her. If Mr. Jones of 1919 brags the same, everyone knows it's because he can't kiss her anymore. All good writing is swimming underwater and holding your breath. Boredom is not an end product, is comparatively rather an early stage in life and art. You've got to go by or past, or through boredom, as through a filter, before the clear product emerges. Often I think writing is a sheer paring away of oneself, leaving always something thinner, barer, more meager. Poetry is either something that lives like fire inside you, like music to the musician or Marxism to the communist, or else it is nothing, an empty formalized bore around which pedants can endlessly drone their notes and explanations. Show me a hero, and I will write you a tragedy. When the first-rate author wants an exquisite heroine or a lovely morning, he finds that all the superlatives have been worn shoddy by his inferiors. It should be a rule that bad writers must start with plain heroines and ordinary mornings, and, if they are able, work up to something better. Mostly, we authors must repeat ourselves. That's the truth. We have 2 or 3 great moving experiences in our lives. Experiences so great and moving that it doesn't seem at the time that anyone else has been so caught up and pounded and dazzled and astonished and beaten and broken and rescued and illuminated and rewarded and humbled in just that way ever before. Writers aren't people exactly, or if they're any good, they're a whole lot of people trying so hard to be one person. It's like actors who try so pathetically not to look in mirrors, who lean backward trying, only to see their faces in the reflecting chandeliers. The years between 35 and 65 revolve before the passive mind as one unexplained, confusing merry-go-round. True, they are a merry-go-round of ill-gaited and wind-broken horses, painted first in pastel colors, then in dull grays and browns. But perplexing and intolerably dizzy the thing is, as never were the merry-go-rounds of childhood or adolescence, as never, surely, were the certain coursed, dynamic roller coasters of youth. For most men and women, these 30 years are taken up with a gradual withdrawal from life.